Jeff Mason is the CEO of Power Digital Marketing, a modern growth marketing firm that works with companies in B2B, B2C, fashion, retail media, and more. He recently sat down with Pete Buer to talk about the intersection of marketing, customer experience, and AI.
Jeff, it's so nice to meet you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Pete. Nice to be here.
Tell us, if you would, for a little bit of context, those who are listening, about Power Digital and your role.
Yeah, sure. So Jeff Mason, CEO of Power Digital, and we're a growth marketing services company. The way to describe what we do is we meet mostly consumer brands, but as of recently, more B2B, those types of brands on their growth journey. And we help them break through that proverbial glass ceiling of their next chapter of growth, whether it's a $50 million brand trying to become a $100 million brand, or a $100 million brand trying to be 500, or 500 trying to be $1 billion. Inevitably, all of them have challenges, sometimes more bespoke than others. We figure out what those challenges and opportunities are, and we help them break through that glass ceiling of growth. And how we do that, very simply, is we help them get to know their customer better. Oftentimes, a lot of these brands don't have a data-related strategy. And so if you don't have a data strategy, you don't have a customer-centric strategy. And so a prerequisite to work with Power Digital is to connect your data sources, 3 primary data sources: customer data, advertising data, financial data. This allows us to develop a full motion video of what's going on in the business. And oftentimes what we find is that they have a business problem, not necessarily a marketing problem. And so what that leads to is studying the customer, refreshing the go-to-market, and marketing to a current customer more effectively, and then also leveraging what we know about the customer through that research to find new audiences to grow the TAM, to help them continue their growth journey. And more importantly than ever, a profitable growth journey. Because I think there's a much more heavy emphasis on profit today, which it should be based off of where the economy is, where the interest rates are, than just pure growth at all costs from a revenue perspective. And I think partly how you unlock that profit is through understanding the customer, marketing them more efficiently, acquiring customers at an efficient rate, and growing LTV to drive that bottom line.
The name of the podcast is AI Knowhow, and we haven't said those 2 letters yet in this conversation. So can you share with us where AI fits into the act of getting to know customers better or scaling the effort?
Yeah, I think number one is first recognizing, especially for consumer brands, that the buyer journey is very, very complex, from discovery to research to consideration to validation to reconsideration to shopping and then buying. And if you think about a customer journey, I might discover a brand on TikTok. I then Google them to evaluate their reputation. I might search their organic social profile to look at customer reviews. I might look at see if they're available on Amazon because I'm a Prime customer, right? I have all these different touch points, right? So the first way to leverage AI is to, one, harness your data, and most importantly, your customer data. Because again, you don't have a customer related marketing strategy unless you have a data strategy. And you certainly do not have an AI strategy unless you have a data strategy. And so what we help our clients do is first and foremost develop a data strategy. And I think that's the beginning part of the journey of being able to be AI enabled. And one of the things that we can do now, especially with our product launch on September 10th for our Nova Customer Insights AI product, is we can AI enable a consumer brand in 24 hours. And I think that's incredibly valuable to be able to interact with your customer related data in a chattable experience where you can start asking very strategic and tactical questions to better understand what's happening within your current customer file and what can I do to impact that.
What are the kind of things that either your alphas, betas are learning, or you anticipate customers in the next launch are going to learn by working through the system with you?
If you think about what the look back period is for a lot of brands, they rely on reporting. But reporting is very much a lagging indicator of what's going on. But when you look at reporting, and by the way, every different brand has bespoke reporting requirements, right? And so number one, giving the brand the ability to customize their own reporting environment is critical. That's the first thing we did. And that came directly back, directly as feedback from the clients, is like, we want our own bespoke custom reporting environment. We built that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Number two, when you look at a report, the first thing you're going to have is a question, right? And where do you ask that question? You're going to either ask your marketing professional, you're going to ask your financial resource, Or if it's a hidden data point, you may have to involve a data analyst, a data scientist, et cetera. Now, picture all three of those experts built into a chattable experience that I can now interact with while looking at my custom reports. Show me my top 20 most profitable customers. What ad platforms were they acquired on? What advertising creative did they engage with? What was their conversion rate? What was their cost to acquire them? What's their associated LTV? I can now have this conversation with my data for my customers and how it ties to the engagement of the advertising that we've deployed, but also the financial economics that surround that customer profile so I can get a full motion video of what's going on. And I think we've been able to develop this ecosystem because I think what brands that are in our alpha and beta are realizing is that they don't know enough about their customer. And so by having them ask questions into this AI powered LLM that we're building, it trains it and gets it smarter and smarter. And the feedback loop is, yes, this is exactly what we're looking for. And so the short answer to your question, which was already long winded, is what they're finding is that they're just learning more about their customer. And then they're more importantly learning that what they should be doing to market to them in a more effective manner.
Does this change marketing? Like, there's so much conversation in every application of AI about what it does to jobs. Will we see marketing teams changing configuration? Will they need new skills? What comes next?
Yeah, listen, I think the way we advertise is going to be different. And that's what I call precision marketing. Yep. And a precision marketing environment, I would look at it in three pillars. Number one, I alluded to this earlier, is forecasting customer behavior, how they buy, when they buy, what they'll buy, where they'll buy, right? And being able to leverage data to be able to do that is step number one. Step number two then is what I call hyper personalization. Think about pricing models based off of income levels, based off of buying behaviors, based off of certain products they buy, based off of subscriptions, et cetera, customized sales, customized promos, et cetera. I mean, you see dynamic product recommendations, but how about dynamic pricing that goes with a dynamic product recommendation? How about dynamic creative and dynamic case studies? All these things that we drive hyper personalization down to consumer level. But then number three, I think what you were alluding to is this notion of augmentation and efficiency, right? And I think we're starting to see this, creep up in certain areas. I think number one, content creation. Obviously, you can leverage, several different LLMs to create content, and not just obviously text-based content, but now obviously creative-based content. And so I think that's going to make the workforce more, I would say, more efficient. But I also think it'll make them more creative because they can iterate on content so much faster. And so instead of spending so much time on creating it, you can spend more time about thinking about it. And so I think to your point or to your question about what type of skills, I think those skills are going to be more about how to I create different types of content, whether it's text content, blog content, creative content, in a way where I'm thinking strategically about the customer and less about what I'm creating, if that makes sense. And I think also it adds a layer of predictability into it. So for instance, I talked about one of our Nova Intelligence applications called Creative Affinity. It's the only application that I know of that connects ad-related engagement data to customer economics or customer purchases. So I know, Pete, you engaged with this ad on Meta, and then I know your associated purchase behavior after engaging with that ad on Meta. I have that ability within our Creative Affinity application. And so if I think about it, if you're the ideal profile customer I want to market to because you're the most profitable, you have the highest LTV, then I want to know what creative and what advertising best makes sense to you. And so if I can take that content that's created and then tell an AI to create 20 iterations of this, and maybe I want to see a background with sun in it or mountains, or I want to see the person wearing a watch or black shoes versus white shoes, or I want this. I can quickly create 20 different iterations of that creative and deploy that into the advertising engines and know that it's going to speak to the most profitable customer cohort that I want to attract. So I think it'll allow marketers to think more strategically. And I think that's an incredibly important skill to have. And it's one, frankly, that we're pivoting more into across all of Power Digital. And why I think being able to use applications and data to do strategic work faster is where the whole industry and marketing is going.
Jeff, thank you. It's been wonderful to meet you, and thank you so much for sharing your insights.
Yeah, same here, Pete. Thanks for having me on.
If you're a marketing firm, guess what? Good news. We actually have built Knowhow just for you. That's right. Nearly 70% of our first cohort of early access partners are marketing firms. Remember, in the intro, when I asked what else lies beneath the surface when it comes to marketing services and AI, turns out it just might be platforms like the one we're building here at Knowhow. Go to knowhow.com/demo to find out why leaders are so excited to be among the first to use Knowhow.